Okay guys, this is an unusual start of one of my videos, but good news is I'm going to grab a new drum kit. I'll bring you guys with me today. Okay, nice. Here we are. Step one is done. Picked up the boxes and we're going now to my studio to unbox everything. Hey Alexa, turn studio on.
Okay.
Nice. In today's video, we're going to walk through how to set up a drum kit from scratch, step by step. We'll start by unboxing the kit, then cover how to properly sit and tune your drum heads, how to cut a porthole in the bass drum resonant head, how to set up your stool height and to properly sit on it, and how to place each drum and cymbal for optimal ergonomics and playability. I'll also share a few tips from my experience as a professional drummer to help you avoid common mistakes and get the most out of your setup. Whether you're setting up your first kit or looking to refine your setup for better comfort and performance, this video has you covered. First, I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. In case you haven't heard of me, my name is Payne and I've been developing instructional drum methods for many years, driven by a deep passion for drumming and education. Over the past 10 to 15 years, I've had the privilege of teaching hundreds of students around the world. In addition to teaching, I've contributed to a biomechanic research project in France at the University of Nantes, focused on analyzing leg movement, ankle motion, and posture while playing drums, an experience that has deeply informed my approach to technique and performance. As a touring musician, I've performed with some of the most influential bands in the metal and death metal scene and had the honor of playing on many of the world's most prominent festivals and stages. If you're curious about my instructional methods, you can find everything on my website jamespaynedrums.com. If you like this video, my content, or my teaching method, don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comment below your thoughts or what you think about it by putting a like. As you know, that always helps. Now back to the video. So when I went to pick up the drums, first thing I did, and this is first suggestion for you guys, control the drums before taking it out of the store or whatever you're getting the drums, okay? Because some boxes might not be in perfect shape and you don't want the drums inside to be damaged, right? So the first thing you want to do is check all the boxes, any like weird box, like any weird shape on the boxes, open it up before taking it out of the store, take it out of, the boxes, make sure everything is in order. If there's anything that it's damaged, you can notify somebody right away before taking it home and then having to deal with, did you ruin it during transportation, did you ruin it while you were, carrying it inside your practice room or whatever. So this is the first step, guys, even before this step. Control the drums inside. This is what we did, okay, when I went to pick up this one. That's why this box is already open. Okay, so let's start from the very first. Let's start from the smaller one. It's a tom. The rest of the box is empty. We can throw it away. There's always going to be, papers. There might be drum keys, stickers and stuff like that. So these are instructions on how to set up also the hardware, like the rims and everything, so it could be useful. And wow, look how beautiful this is. We have these things here that are just keeping this part together because this is going to be, it's a memory lock, so it could fall over. So I won't remove this until I have unboxed everything, and we'll make a little bit more space, and then we'll go through one step at a time. Bring a knife. It's always better than keys. Another thing, important thing is, sometimes they put in the boxes things, right? Like, I don't know, screws or pieces or drum keys. So I always check every box before throwing it away because you never know. You might be throwing away something that you need for the drums. So, and also set up all the drums before throwing all the boxes away, because any issue, anything that you have to, that's missing or whatever, you still have the boxes. You can put everything back and go back to the store and let them know. Okay, so this is a Tamastar Classic Walnut Birch with smoked black nickel hardware rims, and it finishes molten brown bust. Drum key in a Snare box. Never know. Check everything. Floor tom legs. Inside the floor tom box, there's something in here. Drum heads. In these triangular boxes, you will most likely find, well, not a drum key, but also, very important, all of these. Sometimes you also find the actual legs, right? A part of the leg. So always look for this. You might have more than one triangular box inside the bass drum box, and one of these triangular boxes have these inside. Okay, so before throwing everything, as I was saying, open every box, because you might find something that it's essential to set up your drums. Awesome. So step one is done. We've unboxed everything. Everything is there. Everything looks great and perfect. So next step, we can start put drum heads on the bass drums and replace the drum heads on all the other parts. Sorry for the interruption. This will be super quick. If you're into this episode, you can find full lessons, breakdowns, and workouts on my website. Just use the code at checkout for a great discount. All right, back to the video. Okay, awesome. So we will start putting drum heads on our new drums. We will start from the bass drum. The bass drum has an important factor of having the resonant head that most of the times we want to cut a hole in the drum head. This is because if we don't have a hole, when we will play a bass drum stroke, there's no real way for the air to exit the bass drum. So it will be very boomy, which it's something that some drummers want, some drummers like. I personally don't like it. I prefer having a hole so that all the hair gets out immediately as I as I play a stroke. Another reason, as we might be able to see here, is that we will put microphones inside the bass drum sometimes, or just outside, or a little bit in between, and this having a hole allows us to have an easier time in doing that. So in my case, I will cut a hole in the resonant head. We will want to have these stickers for the bass drum hole, right? So we will cut a hole and then we will put a sticker either outside or inside, depending if we want to see it or not. I usually put it outside. I don't dislike seeing them. I think it gives a little bit of style. And these ones basically will prevent the bass drum head from cutting, right? If it's not perfectly cut and there's a little break in the head and we'll start playing, it'll cut the bass drum right away, the bass drum head right away. So we want to prevent that, and we'll put these ones, there's a called porthole, we'll put these on the bass drum hole. Our bass drum head will be like this, right? So there's a few ways to cut the drum heads. First of all, we can place wherever we want. We can do the hole wherever we want, right? We can put it here, we can put it more in the center, we can put it down here. Just keep in mind that, you know, the more it's comfortable for the sound engineer to place the microphone, the better, right? And there's a few ways we can do this. We can either put the sticker first and cut the head after, or we can kind of like cut the head and put the sticker on after. To cut the head, we have this type of gear here, this type of cutter, which allows us to choose the inches. We can move this one and put it in different holes, and so depending on where we're gonna put this is the part that it cuts. This will get stuck in the head, and then we'll turn it, and this side will cut the bass drum head, right? So that we avoid, you know, doing weird things. Another thing that we want to keep in mind is that we have this, usually bass drum, resonant bass drum head have this ply here. So we want to make sure of this, and we want to make sure that we don't cut too close to a logo in case we want to, you know, put this one because from the outside, because if the cut is too close, then this will eventually cover the logo, right? So we want to keep in mind that we want this to be around here, let's say, and so the cut has to be around here, and so we have to measure the center of the cut, not from here to here, but a little bit above, right? So that we don't then go and cover part of the logo with the sticker. The easier way is probably to just kind of like place the sticker without actually putting it, but just placing it in the area that where we want the sticker to be. Then we'll calculate the center, right, of the sticker. We will poke a hole right there. Okay, so now what I did here, I have a hole, right, where I will place this one exactly in the center of the sticker. So now I'll remove the sticker. I will actually turn the head, keep that same spot that I just got, and I will start cutting the drum head. Awesome. And now we clean the bass drum head very well before placing the sticker. Awesome. Bass drum number 1, bass drum number 2. Awesome. So we get our bass drum now, and we know that the resonant head goes on this side, right? Because the foot of the bass drum, the leg of the bass drum, will go this way, and so this is where we put the beater head, and this is where we put the resonant head. So let's see where the logo is, and let's center it, and we'll grab these ones. For now, we will leave them pretty loose. We don't want to tighten them all the way. There's no point at this level of the setup. We just want to kind of like block the screws in, and then we will see the tuning part after. Okay, so for now we can just get a little bit tight with our fingers. Let's get both bass drums at the same level. Okay, so now we will put the beater heads to the bass drums, but before putting those, we will want to put inside some type of cloth, like it could be a pillow. I don't like pillows inside the bass drum because I think they're too big and they block the sound too much. I like something a little bit thinner, so I went with a blanket basically that I folded, and then I taped it a little bit so that it kind of stays in the same position. There are actual pillows that drum companies make to kind of like block the sound a little bit. You can test and try a few things. That's my option. Okay, so we want to place the blanket first, and as you can see, you can also put impact patches on the bass drums exactly where the beater hits. But you want to first place the drum head, put the pedal, see where the beater hits, and then place the impact patch, because you might, if you place it before, you might not find the right exact spot where the beater is. It might be a little bit on the sides, or too high or too low. Okay, so wait to do that. These are bass drum heads that I already had and used, so they're already on. I know some of these informations might sound obvious, but trust me guys, when there are so many little things to pay attention to and to remember, it's very common that we do these little mistakes, and then it's just sometimes annoying, sometimes it breaks the head, sometimes it damages something, and we have to repair, replace, whatever. So this is why I mention all these little details. Okay, another important part for the bass drum is that some drums will come with this type of patches, and these patches are basically stickers that you would place where the pedal will go, right? Because we will attach the pedal to the bass drum, and when you kind of tighten the pedal, it'll eventually leave a little mark on the bass drum rim. So we want to avoid that, and to avoid it, they give us this type of stickers that we will place exactly where the pedal goes. To place the patches, you can either calculate the half, the center between the two screw lugs, between the two blocks, and you calculate, you know, the center where it is, and you place it. Or if you want to be more precise and specific, you place the pedal first, tighten it a little bit, see if the pedal gets lifted on one side or the other. It means that it's not perfectly centered. It has to stay flat on the floor, but sometimes when you tighten the pedal, it'll start lifting on one side. So you want to reposition it, put it flat, tighten, see exactly what it is, and then you place the patch there. Or if you don't want, just calculate the middle between two logs here, and you should be fine. Hold up, 3 seconds, promise. Everything you're seeing here is just a taste. My website has full breakdowns, exercises, and structured workouts to master this. Use the coupon code for a discount while you're there. Now, back to the video. Okay, awesome. So then we will start with the floor tom, and the drums, most of the time they come with the drum heads that, you know, they place. We are going to replace these ones and put the actual ones that I use. Same process for now. We're just going to replace the beater head first, and then the resonant head in case you have it. If you don't have it, you can, and you want to use, you know, the one that comes with the drums, it's fine. You can replace it in a second moment. It's not a big deal. Okay, awesome. So the drum heads that I use are Remo Emperor Clear, okay, and these are pretty standard. I like the fact that they're very controlled. They still have a very good open sound. They don't choke the wood and the shelves too much, but they let the drums sound without losing control though. And they're pretty resistant. Like, you can hit them hard and they last pretty long. And then everybody has their own, you know, preferences on that. Like, there's somebody that likes to change drum head every week or every month or every 2 months, or I personally change the drum heads every time I have to record something or shoot a video and my drum heads are pretty old, or, you know, have to go on tour or something like that. I have new heads. So let's say once every 2 months I would change the heads. But if I have a lot of a long period of no recording, no nothing, I would, you know, let them last until they break. It's okay enough to practice on it, right? You don't need fresh heads to practice on. Here we'll do the same thing. We'll get a little bit, you know, tight. We'll tighten them with finger strength, like just with our fingers. We don't want to tighten the head too much at this point. We just want to replace all the heads, and then we'll work on the tuning in a second moment, okay? Okay, as far as resonant head, I use Ambassador Clear, Remo Ambassador Clear, and these are a little bit thinner than the Emperor. Awesome. And then we'll do the same with all the other shelves. So let's do it. Okay guys, a little trick to speed up the process of changing drum heads. We can use a screwdriver and have some drum key, like this Remo drum key. It's been designed so that you can actually put it in a screwdriver like that and use it to kind of like take the screws off and then screw them back in. But just be careful, because you don't want to go all the way in and break something, especially the wood or something. This will pull hard, right? So you want to just kind of like get it all the way until you, like just a little bit before you start to actually, you know, lock the screw in. I would stop a little bit before. You'll get a sense of it after a few. The rest will be done by finger tightening first and then going in manually with the key. So we do all the last tuning part with the drum key that we will see in this video. Also very important, guys, let's not lose these little parts that go in here, because we will need to have everything as even as possible when we're tightening and tuning the drums. So if, you know, we start have one piece missing here and there, it's gonna make the tuning process a little bit harder. Awesome, and then we take our key, we'll do the last part only with our fingers. So when we get to the tom, we will have to remove all of this section. Sometimes not all the drums are like that, but in this case, this is how we have to do it. So just take everything all together. As far as changing the snare drum resonant head, we will have to remove the snare wires also. So we will have to unscrew one of the two sides, these little things here, like this screws here, so that we can remove this, at least on one side. Then we unscrew all of the other screws. We will remove the snare rim, and as you can see, there's a hole just for the snare wires, so you can kind of like take the rim out from, like, just by having the snare wire going through this one, change the drum head and then replace it. And then you basically re-put the rim on, put the screws, and then you want to re-put, like, make this part go through here again, and you re-unscrew everything, okay, so that it goes back to how it was in the first place. Quick heads up, then we'll be right back. If you're studying this technique seriously, I've got full module, drills, and in-depth workouts on my site that go way beyond this. Use the coupon code for a special discount. Let's keep going. Okay, awesome. So now we'll go through the tuning part. Okay, once we have all the heads on, we put all these little details, stickers, patches, and whatnot, we will have to tune it. You might not have a tune bot, but it's a very useful tool because it allows you to have consistency in your tuning throughout time, meaning that once you get the right frequencies that you want, you know that every time you just go back and look for that frequency. You don't have to be an expert, you don't have to develop any special ear, you know, as a professional to kind of like tune everything, but this will do the work for you. There are a few options like the drum dial, the drum watch, the Tama drum watch. I go with the tune bot just because I kind of got used to this one. It's also lighter to bring around, and it comes with an app also that you can download, and you can choose the tones with the app. Like you can choose whatever kind of like frequency and note you want to follow, and then the tune bot will, like the app will give you the frequency that you have to reach, and then you can reach the frequencies just by tuning each lug, okay, each screw. That's why it's so comfortable. The other ones are more tension detectors, so you just put it on whatever lug you are, and then you reach the same tension everywhere. I've used those for a long time too. Again, I just switched to this one. If you don't have any of these tools, or you don't want to use any of these tools, there's a few ways that you can kind of like have a basic tuning. One is just put pressure at the center. Don't worry about breaking it. These heads are pretty resistant. So you just press down and you basically tight the screws until you see that the head is not wavy anymore. You don't see the waves of the drum head, and you just continue like that until everything is kind of like nice and even. Once you get there, you have more or less all the screws, all the parts tuned with the same tension, and then from there you can, you know, tighten it a little bit, and you just tighten it evenly to have a higher note or more rebound if you're looking for the right feel, or keep it as it is, okay? If you go lower though, you might start to see the wave, and you might hear a little bit like distortion in the head, the brrr, brrr, like that it vibrates in a way that it doesn't sound good. So you might not want to go too low because of that reason. You can kind of adjust from there. I have all my frequencies here, so I will just go and recreate, like find the right frequency on each tom here. So the way we will do this is we will get a drumstick, a drum key, our tune bot, and we basically want to place, sometimes I place the toms or the drum on a stool or on something that blocks the head underneath. But for the snare drum, for example, that doesn't work very well. I have to just be on the floor, even better if I'm on a rug. So first frequency will be 205. So another thing is, I start from here. This is giving me 161. I will tighten up a little bit. 169, I'll tighten up a little bit. 180. I'm not trying to get to the right frequency from the very first log, but I kind of slowly build up until I get to that frequency. And another thing, if you're noticing, I am not going in this sense of tuning, but I'm doing always the opposites, right? Because if not, there's the risk that we tune everything on one side and it's very tight, and then we don't tune super tight on the other side, and we're, you know, not evenly tightening all the rims, because this is all tension, right? So it tense on one side, then you tense on the other side, and it adjusts the head, and then you do the same. So you want to go from, if you start one, you want to, then number 2 is the lug across, and then number 3, number 4, and then number 5. So you want to go in this direction and not, you know, clockwork or any other direction. Now we'll go on the resonant head. As I was mentioning earlier in the video, the resonant head, it defines more the pitch of the note, but also the length of the note, right? So the more we tighten this, the more it'll continue to play like ooh. And those are all frequencies that will get in the way when you're recording. They will make the snare vibrate a lot, so you want to kind of like cut them. That's why sometimes you see people putting moon gels or tape on the heads, is to stop that note to continue. Like they might find the right tone, but then the note is too long, so they block with a little bit of tape or stuff, something like that. And usually, most of the times, the resonant head is tighter than the beater head. The beater head is, in this case, for example, the beater head is 205, and the resonant head is 255, right? So it's 50 hertz higher than the other one. This is 50 hertz is not a ratio that would work on all the others. They're all different, but in this case it's 50, so just to kind of like give you a reference. Okay, so first thumb is done, and then once I do the tuning, I put these little things, which are going to avoid that the head loses the tuning immediately as I start hitting the drums, right? I don't want to retune the drums every day. So this will help me to keep it a little bit more in tune throughout the days. This is pretty much, first tom is done, but this is how we do it for the toms and the floor toms. Okay, another detail, when we are tuning the bass drum, we will have, you know, the hole, but that doesn't matter. We'll still need to reach the right frequencies on all the lugs, right? So even when we hit here close to the hole, we don't want a different frequency of the bass drum in case we're using, you know, the tune bot. We want the same frequency. We want to reach the same frequency. So this is another plus for using this, that it works on frequencies, so it will find the right frequency no matter what part of the bass drum you're hitting. When you get a bass drum, you will have most of the time also this part of the legs that you can regulate. So what this does, it'll lift or lower the bass drum, right? So we will have to think that the more we lift the bass drum, right, the more the pedal beater will have a shorter run. So we don't want to tilt the bass drum too much, right? But we want to have it just a little bit off the floor so that the beater doesn't go over 90 degrees, but it doesn't go like less than 90 degrees. We want to keep it in a way that the beater stays more or less. It doesn't have to be like super precise. You have a margin, you know, of it that will make a big difference. But if it's too much or too low, you will feel it. Then we will put the leg down, go all the way down until the floor blocks the bass drum so that it doesn't move, okay? When we get to the resonant head, what we want to do is lift the wire, put a stick like this that will keep it lifted so we can work on each log without having, you know, the wire that is going to get in the way. And then we can adjust the tension here also by put the wire off and then kind of like make it more tensed or looser, depending on how you like it. The beater head of the snare, we want to have the wire off, right? We don't want it to be in the way while we're tuning the opposite head. Hey there, a quick one. If you're into what you're watching, you'll love the full lessons and workouts on my website. I cover all these topics and more. Use the coupon code to have a discount. All right, thanks. Back to the action. Okay guys, so now that we have all the drums tuned, the last part that we are missing, that we need to do, is just to place it in the right way, in an ergonomic way. Okay, so as you can see in the back, my hardware is already set up, and I also have already tape on my rug that it's telling me where to position everything. But I will still give you an idea on how you want to position your drums, because everybody will be different depending on how tall we are, how the setup is, if we have one bass drum, two bass drums, one tom, three toms, and so on, okay? But if you have a general kind of like rule to follow on how to set up the drums, then you will be able to just set up your drums whenever, wherever you are. Okay, if you play shows and you're playing on different drum sets, you will know how. You don't have to measure everything and go around with a measuring tape, but you will know how to look for your positions, okay? So let's get into understanding how to place the hardware, the toms, and everything together. So we will want to start with the stool height, right? So we want to place the stool in a way that when we're sitting and we have our feet on the floor, the heels and everything, we want the knee a little bit lower than the hip level, right? Because we will have to think of having a pedals, and then we will have to move our legs just enough to kind of like how much a pedal would allow us to. We won't detach, we shouldn't be detaching the foot from the pedal, like we shouldn't just raise the leg how we want, but we should kind of like stay always together with the pedal, right? But so we want to think that when we lift the legs, we don't feel like we have to go to bring the knees over the hip level, but we want to kind of like stay with the leg raised, let's say a couple of inches. The knee should stay at the same level of the hip, not over. Okay, so this will be the first reference for the stool. Have a little bit more than 90 degrees between this part of the leg and the body. So once we know the height of the stool, we have to think of where do we place the bass drum. Let's not do the mistake of just placing the drums and then adjusting the body based on how we place the drums. But let's do the opposite. We just sit wherever your foot is, that's where you want to place the pedal. And if you have double pedal or double bass drum, that's where you want to put the second pedal, okay? Okay, so I see where my feet are naturally falling, and I will put the first pedal around that area, second pedal around that area, okay? And then from here, this should be approximately. It's not to be super accurate yet, but it's just an approximation. We know more or less where we're going to place our bass drum. First bass drum will go where the first pedal is, our right pedal is. Okay, so we've tightened the bass drum, and now we can adjust a little bit if we feel it too far or too close, right? Okay, perfect. So then we will do the same thing with the left foot. We will place the bass drum and then we'll adjust it a little bit, right? Then after this, we will put our snare drum in between our legs. So we will have the snare stand that we will open up with the right diameter of the snare, and we'll open the legs as much as possible until the distance of the pedal allows us. Perfect. And then we'll adjust the diameter. We'll place it more or less where we feel comfortable. And then also here, the height, we want to kind of like follow our body. So keep the shoulder relaxed, keep the elbow attached, or like just leaving the arm naturally fall, and then we will kind of hit the snare and see where it's comfortable. Right now this is already placed in the right way for me because it was already set up for this type of snare. But every snare also will have a different depth, right, or different diameters, so maybe smaller or bigger. So we will have to adjust. You might have the snare a bit too low and you want to raise it. Okay, another thing that we have to think of is we will, as I was saying before, we will move the leg. And we want to make sure that the leg doesn't get in the way while we're playing, right? If it's too low, we will have to raise it a little bit. And guys, from here, this is how you want to do everything else. For example, I would place a tom here, right? And then to reach the tom, I just want to extend my arm, but not even too much. So maybe having the snare exactly in the right position will have my tom a little too far. So what I can do is I can find compromises, little compromises, where I might get the snare a little bit closer, right? Which won't make a big difference for me here, but I can get the tom closer, which will make a big difference so that I don't have to stretch too much my arms or lean towards the front to reach the toms. It'll affect my balance, but I can stay pretty comfortable. And if you have one tom, you measure it like this. If you have two toms, you want to kind of like make sure that the right arm reaches the left tom and the right tom, and the left arm reaches the right tom and the left tom comfortably, right? So you don't want to place them too far away where one arm it's too far, but you want to always be comfortable and make sure that you can reach everything. So the floor tom, I want to place it in a way that I can reach it with my right hand comfortably without having to twist or to shift too much, but here, but also with my left, that I don't have to stretch. If I put it too far away, I might have to stretch my left arm, and then when I get here, it'll be too far, and then I might have a right here that I have to push too far. So you have to kind of like, you want to find little compromises, but the concept that I'm explaining that I want to share with you is you do it based on your body position. Maybe somebody has longer arms or shorter arms, you know, all these things. You have to adapt in that way so that you're comfortable, no matter, you know, for both arms, that you don't have to change your balance or your position too much. Same for the hi-hat. You want to find a position that is comfortable for your arm and continue on that side. Maybe having the hi-hat, if you don't only have one bass drum and you have, you know, the hi-hat too close, it might get in the way of the snare. So of course you want to place it in a way that it's a little bit further away, but it's not too far that kind of forces you to open up the leg too much, right? This is the way you want to think on how to set up the drums, so that you're just doing based on the measures of your body, keeping a few rules in mind. So everywhere you go, you will be able to set up always exactly the same without the need of memorizing the heights and the distances and all of that, but just by putting yourself, and then you place the gear around you in a way that makes sense for your arms and for your body. Same thing also for the cymbals, right? Or the right cymbal. You don't want to place it too far away that stretches your arm or whatever. You want to have it in a position that is reachable and comfortable to reach, keeping this area relaxed. And then when we go on crash cymbals, we want kind of like always the same concept. Like you don't want the crash cymbal too high or too low, but you want, you know, you want to think of the arm being as deactivated as possible and just place it where you are. You don't want to having to change, like follow the stick to reach a certain cymbal or whatever. You want to be able to reach everything without shifting the balance. Also, another thing is the inclination of the toms and of the snare. Is it flat, tilt, how much tilt, the toms staying flat or like having it a little bit towards you, or and so on. My rule is always think of a tennis ball. You leave the tennis ball. If the tennis ball is hitting a surface that it's towards, you know, where it came from, it'll go back to where it came from. So it's the same thing here, right? The stick is bouncing back towards me because the snare is positioned in a way that like directs the rebound back to where it came. Okay, so if I have a complete flat tom and I throw a ball, the ball will go that side. If the tom is a little bit like this, facing me slightly, then the ball will go back in my hand. Same thing for the stick, right? It'll bounce back. So I use that rule. So tom's a little bit towards me, not too much, because if it's too much, then the ball will go towards the floor. It's not bouncing back towards me, right? So that's how I calculate how much I tilt the toms towards me. Just having a sense of why you're placing things in a certain way, and if you're trying a few different positions, what are you trying to achieve? It's already a great starting point for setting up a drums in an ergonomic way. You don't want to set up a drums and then create bad habits, especially if you're starting off and this is your first kit and you start off with the wrong positions. You will develop habit, you will develop pain, you will you risk to injure yourself and all of that. So it's better to set up the drums in a way that it's following your natural positions as much as possible, and you have to move the least possible to reach all the surfaces. Okay guys, awesome. So these are the steps to set up your kit. The last piece of advice that I give you, of course, once everything is in place, you will play a little bit on it. You will tweak things here and there. You will raise the cymbal, move something here and there, move there, then play on it for some days. You will probably adjust the bass drum, adjust the, to make everything comfortable. After a week, couple of weeks, even after 3 weeks, a month, a good thing is if you have memory locks, put memory locks on all the stands and the toms and everything. And of course, we will set up all of the drums on a rug. Okay, so let's make sure everything is on the rug. And then we can take tape and also tape the rug to memorize where we're putting all the stands and the floor toms and the snare drum and the stool and everything, okay? The more we put memory locks and memorize where everything goes, the easier it will be for us to, every time we have to break down the drums or move something, to replace it as close as possible to what it was. But do this after 2, 3, 4 weeks that you play the drums, because you will start moving things around and it'll be annoying to constantly move the tape, put the back the tape and all of that. Alright guys, I hope this video helped you set up your drum kit with more confidence and clarity, avoiding the usual mistakes and confusion with tuning, positioning and setup. If you're still struggling with your setup, or if you want to go deeper in other drum related topics like technique, coordination, feels, independence and more, I'd love to help you personally. On my website jamespaynedrums.com, inside my all access membership, I host weekly live streams where we practice together. You can ask questions live, send me video submissions, and I'll give you direct feedback to guide your progress. This way you're not guessing. You'll know exactly what to work on, how to do it right, and how to avoid injuries while improving faster. I personally follow every student in the membership, so you'll always have guidance. You can use the code JPDYTB for a special discount too. Just head over to jamespaynedrums.com to get all the details, or feel free to reach out to me directly on one of my pages. See you in the next video.